Installing perfect hinges are probably the trickiest part to fit in internal doors, but by the end of this video you'll be able to get your hinges looking just like this. Okay, so these are the hinges I'm using. They're 76mm or 4-inch hinges, and the reason I'm using these is to basically just to match the ones that are already in the house. Because these are so big and these are hollow doors, I'm only using 2, and typically they're placed 6 inches from the top of the door and 9 inches from the bottom. If you are doing a third hinge, then that will just be placed directly in the centre of both hinges. So you take the measurement and then work out the centre from there. Okay, so as I said, the top hinge will be marked at 6 inches from the top. So this is a 6-inch mark here, and all I usually do is just make a little squiggle so I know that it's not this side, it's this side of the marking. Now we're moving on to actually fitting the hinge. You'll notice that there's 2 sections of the hinge. One has this little cutout, and then the other one is attached to the actual bearing here. What I usually do is use this side as the sort of template, so I'll line that up with my mark there. And your best friend throughout this whole job is going to be a sharp Stanley blade. Once it's lined up with your mark and you've got a sharp Stanley blade, what you want to do is start cutting around, and at the start you want to go slow until you've made some sort of track for it to follow. So you want to do it really lightly, just a few passes. And you can also, if you find you're slipping off, you can also put a bit of a deeper dent in all corners. So if you do go past that point, it will kind of fall into that rather than slide off. You're in the way a bit here, but I would usually, for the corners, go this way so you don't slip off. So yeah, as I say, just do that all the way around, start off really lightly. Once you've done that, you should be left with a nice border from the Stanley blade, and then you can sort of just clean up these areas where it didn't quite reach, so you just put it back into your mark and then sort of just... Basically with this you want to eliminate any sort of splinters when it comes to chiseling it out. Now because these are quite big hinges, you'll notice that it does come right to the end, but obviously if you've got smaller hinges you want to just make sure that this far line is cleared all the way down. So now we do the exact same for the bottom side before moving on to the next step. So next step, with a sharp chisel, I usually go around the border with the bevel end facing inwards, and then I'll just work my way around the border gently, just sort of opening that up a little bit more. Well, you do need to be careful on areas like this where it's close to the edge, because you don't want to sort of debond that. So I'm just going to go very lightly around here. There's 2 ways you can get rid of this material. Obviously the first one being using a hand chisel. The second one is you can use a router, which I would probably usually use if I'm doing more than one door, just because it saves time. But for the purpose of this video I'm going to use a hand chisel, but you just need to make sure that it's sharp. That's going to be your main issue. If you can make sure it's sharp, then it's going to be much easier. Once you're at this point, you can just put your hinge in place, and then what I use to pre-drill the centres is this centering drill bit. Line up where you're happy, and then there you have it. So all I've got to do now is put the screws in and then finish the other side. Right, so that's one side complete. All I've got to do is finish off the bottom side and then it will be ready to hang. Okay, so now we're on to the door frame side. You can see I've got it in position. What I would highly recommend you getting if you're doing any internal doors are some of these airbags. So I'm going to prop this door up now. And then get my spacers. Just make sure that these are in properly. Obviously you want to position it close up to the hinge side as possible, so that's where I've put my spacers in. and then also at the top. So you can see my spacers are in. And then from here, what you want to do is, where you can see the position of the hinge cut out, is get a Stanley blade and mark the top and bottom positions onto the door frame, and then you can take the door away and then you can see where you've got to cut out. As accurate as you can, mark onto the frame the position of the top and bottom of the hinge, then you can move the door away. Okay, so as you can see now, we've got a mark for the top and bottom position of the hinge. So all you want to do is replicate the steps before, hold that up against the marks, Stanley blade around it, cut it out, and then I'll catch back up with you when I'm at that point. Okay, so this time we're going to position the pump wedges at this angle because we want to have the door open while we try and attach the hinges. So I'm going to go and grab the door. Now it's in position, all I've got to do is line it up roughly where it needs to be. And there, all I've got to do now is put a couple of screws in on each hinge. So the only thing that might happen now is I might have to shave off little bits, either on the top or this side, just to get it to fit snug. Okay, so that's it. That was how to fit perfect hinges on internal doors. This is hung now. Obviously, I need to do the handle and latch and everything, but that's a separate thing. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that it helped you out if you're looking to do this yourself. As I say, just make sure the main thing that you have sharp Stanley blades and then sharp chisels, and just take your time with it, and I'm sure you'll get there. Please like, comment and subscribe if you want more videos like this, and we'll see you in the next one.